Hey there, I'm Alyssa, co-founder of Pelvipreneur, and today we are talking about why pelvic floor therapists are the easiest clinicians to go cash pay. Now, pelvic floor therapists, I believe, have one of the most advantaged positions in all of healthcare to build successful cash-based practices. And yet, so many of you are staying stuck in insurance-based settings where you are underpaid, you're overworked, and frankly, you're underutilizing the incredible specialized skills that you have. Our niche is one of the easiest to transition to a cash pay model. And today I'm going to break down exactly why pelvic floor PTs have such a massive advantage when it comes to going cash based. We'll talk about what's potentially holding you back from making that transition. And we'll chat through the specific mindset shifts you need to make for this transition to be a successful one. Because here's what I know after years of running my own cash-based practice and coaching dozens of pelvic floor therapists. You don't need more letters after your name. You don't need another certification. You need to own your expertise and step into visibility. So let's dive into this. Let's start with why pelvic floor PTs are uniquely positioned for cash pay success. First, your patients are already highly motivated. Think about it. By the time someone books with a pelvic floor therapist, they're not casually seeking care. They're not coming in because their doctor told them to do 6 weeks of PT for their shoulder. They're coming in because they're leaking when they sneeze, they're having pain during intimacy, they can't pick up their baby without feeling like their organs are falling out, or they're 3 years postpartum and just found out that their core weakness and diastasis recti and pelvic floor dysfunction are all connected, right? So these are life-altering symptoms. These are problems that affect their identity, their relationships, their ability to parent, their ability to exercise, their confidence, their intimacy, right? So these are deeply personal, often embarrassing, and something that they've likely been struggling with in silence for months or even years. So when someone finally gets up the courage to seek out the help of a pelvic floor therapist, they're typically ready. So these are folks that are looking for someone who can actually help them. Second, there's a massive gap in care. Even though pelvic floor therapy is becoming more known, there are still not enough providers. Wait lists are long. Even in our area, it could be 6 months to a year-long wait list. Access is limited, and let's be real, a lot of the pelvic floor therapy happening in traditional insurance-based settings is not comprehensive. It might be 15, 20, maybe 30-minute appointments. It's cookie-cutter exercises. It's not addressing the whole person or the root cause. You know this. You've seen this if you're working in those insurance models right now, and it's really, really frustrating, not only for you as a clinician, but also for your patients. So when patients find a pelvic floor therapist who actually takes the time to do a thorough assessment, who looks at their whole body, not just their pelvic floor in isolation, who connects the dots between their C-section scar and their hip internal rotation and their pelvic floor coordination, like they're willing to pay for that because they can't get it anywhere else. Third, your expertise is highly specialized and not easily replaceable. So this one here, I think, is truly critical. When you're a general orthopedic PT, you're competing with every other physical therapist, chiropractor, personal trainer, massage therapist, acupuncturist, in YouTube video out there. But pelvic floor therapy is inherently different, right? Your patients can't YouTube their way out of pelvic organ prolapse. They can't ask their personal trainer to assess their pelvic floor tone and coordination. They can't go to their OB-GYN and get a comprehensive treatment plan for their postpartum recovery that addresses their diastasis recti, their scarring, their breathing dysfunction, and their pelvic floor. Like they need you and they know it. That level of specialization is your leverage. It's what makes cash pay not only possible, but actually easier for you than most other clinicians. So if pelvic floor physical therapists and occupational therapists have all of these advantages, why aren't more of us going cash-based? So here's kind of the truth behind that. Like, a lot of folks are hiding. And I don't mean to say that to be harsh by any means, but I say it because we see it every day. Talented, skilled, compassionate pelvic floor therapists who are really exceptional clinically are invisible online. They're not marketing themselves. They're not putting themselves out there. They're waiting for patients patients to find them instead of actively showing up as the expert they are in their given region. And I get it. There are a lot of reasons why pelvic floor therapists hesitate to be visible. One reason that we find when coaching our pelvipreneur clients is imposter syndrome. So you think you need more training, you think you're not experienced enough, you think like, who am I to charge cash rates when I've only been a pelvic floor therapist for 2 years, or I don't have my WCS certification yet, so I'm not really an expert. And I want to stop you right there if those are some thoughts that you have, because if you've taken pelvic floor continuing education, if you're doing internal assessments, if you're treating patients with pelvic floor dysfunction and they're getting better, you are an expert. You know more than 99% of healthcare providers out there about the pelvic floor. Your patients don't care if you have every certification under the sun. They care if you can help them stop leaking, reduce their pain, and get back to living. The other reason too is fear of being salesy or kind of like self-promotional. This is a big one, especially for women. And let's be honest, most pelvic floor therapists are women. We've been conditioned to be humble, to not brag, to not put ourselves out there too much, to kind of be small, right? But here's the reframe on that. Marketing yourself is not bragging, it's serving. When you hide your expertise, you're not being humble, you're depriving people of the help that they desperately need. There is someone in your community right now who is struggling with pelvic pain, prolapse, incontinence, postpartum issues, and they don't know that you exist. That's the problem, right? So it's visibility. It's not vanity. It's a responsibility of ours to be able to relay that message. The other thing too is that we get it. Talking about pelvic floor dysfunction, bowel, bladder, painful intimacy, it can feel vulnerable as well because it has been such a taboo kind of topic. And, you don't want to be that person that's always posting about vulvas and vaginas on social media. But guess what? Your ideal patients are looking for someone who will talk about these things. They're looking for someone who makes them feel less alone, less ashamed, and more hopeful that help is actually available to them. So when you show up and you normalize these types of conversations, you're being a leader, right? You're creating safety. You're letting people know that they don't have to suffer in silence. Another reason is not knowing how to market yourself. This is actually the most fixable problem, but it's one that keeps a lot of pelvic floor PTs stuck. You didn't go to PT school to learn marketing. You don't know what to post on social media. You don't know how to optimize your website. You don't know how to run Google ads or create lead magnets or build email funnels. And that's okay. That's learnable, especially with coaching. But you can't use I don't know how as an excuse to stay invisible forever. You have to be willing to learn, to try, to get uncomfortable, and to put yourself out there even when it feels kind of scary. Because the alternative is staying stuck in an insurance-based job where you're burnt out, you're underpaid, and not able to practice the way you want to. So what's the solution in that? Like, how do you go from hiding to thriving in a cash-based practice, in a cash-based market? So it comes down to a couple of core shifts. The first one is own your authority. Stop waiting until you feel ready. You are ready right now. You have specialized skills that most healthcare providers don't have. You've invested time, money, and energy into learning how to treat the pelvic floor. You've helped patients get their lives back. That makes you an expert, period. So we want you to start showing up like one. Start talking about your expertise confidently. Start sharing what you know. Start educating people about pelvic floor dysfunction and how it can be treated. When you own your authority, your marketing becomes easier, your messaging becomes clearer, and your ideal patients start finding you. Shift number 2 is get visible. You cannot build a cash-based practice in like the shadows. You have to put yourself out there on social media, on your website, in your community, on podcasts, in blog posts, in videos like this one. Start with one platform. Maybe it's Instagram. Maybe it's your website blog. Maybe it's local networking events. Just pick one and commit to showing up consistently. Share educational content. Share patient success stories with permission, of course. Share your own story. Why you became a pelvic floor therapist. What drives you to do what you do? What makes you uniquely different from anybody else? Because people don't just just buy services, they buy from people they know, like, and trust. And the only way they can know, like, and trust you is if they actually see you. The next shift is stop apologizing for your pricing. This is huge. If you're going to go cash base, you have to believe in the value of what you're offering. Your patients are not paying for 15 minutes with you. They're not paying for an hour with you. They're not paying for random exercises. They're paying for your years of education and training. They're paying for your specialized expertise. They're paying for your comprehensive assessments that look at their whole body. They're paying for answers that they haven't been able to get anywhere else. That's worth easily $150, $200, $250 per session because they're paying for that transformation. But if you don't believe it's worth that, your patients won't either. So stop saying things like, I know it's expensive, but, or stop offering discounts before people even ask. Stop undermining your own value. Instead, own your pricing, explain the value, help people understand, what they're truly getting, and trust that the right patients, the ones who are ready and motivated, will say yes. So the pelvic floor therapy space is really exploding right now. More people are talking about pelvic health now more than ever before. They're talking about hormone health, postpartum recovery is finally getting attention, pelvic pain is being acknowledged, prolapse talk is being normalized, when athletes are openly talking about leakage and their own struggles. We've even seen, again, celebrities that are openly talking about their pelvic floor journeys as well. So, the demand is there, the need is there, the patients are there. The only question is, are you going to show up and serve them? Because if you don't, someone else will. And honestly, they might not be as skilled as you. They might not have the training you have. They might not have the same drive that you do, but they're willing to be visible. They're willing to market themselves. They're willing to put themselves out there. They're willing to invest in their business as well. And that's why they're going to continue to get patients. You don't have to be the loudest person in the room. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have it all figured out from day one. But if this is something you do want, you have to start and you have to own your expertise and let people know that you do exist. So if this is you and you're questioning whether or not you start your business, here's my challenge for you today. Do one thing this week that makes you more visible. Post something on social media about pelvic health. Update your website if you have a practice right now with clearer messaging about what you do and who you help. Reach out to a local OB-GYN or midwife and introduce yourself. Maybe record one social media video or one video for YouTube. Write a blog post. Just do something that puts you out there because pelvic floor PTs are the easiest clinicians to go cash pay if they stop hiding, become more visible. You have everything you need: the niche, the expertise, the motivated patients. The only thing standing between you and a thriving cash-based practice is your willingness, again, to be seen. So step into your authority and start building the practice you've always dreamed of. And if you need support with this, that's exactly what we do inside of Pelvipreneur. We help pelvic floor therapists build profitable, sustainable cash-based practices with the systems, marketing strategies, and mindset coaching you need to succeed. So head over to pelvipreneur.com to learn more.